Hey everyone, welcome back to 4J Music. Look, I'm going to start with a little bit of a confession here, and I'm going to put myself out there and make myself really vulnerable, and you'll see why in a second. But I'll have to admit that for the longest time in my career, I didn't know how to use one of these. Okay, if you can't tell, it's one of those flute rods that we use to clean the flute, but also to tune, to check the cork. And I didn't know how to use that. It was just something like a gap of knowledge. And it didn't make me a bad band director, but there's some times that maybe we had some flute intonation issues that would have been very, very easily fixed just by addressing that issue, and I just didn't know how to do that. The reason I bring that up is because we have this culture in our profession where sometimes if you don't know something, especially if you go on certain websites, yellow ones, maybe even, you know what I'm talking about if you're in Texas, but if you go on a certain website and you ask a question, a lot of people will make you feel really stupid. And it's just something we totally need to do away with in our profession. And so anyway, yes, I know how to use this now, and we check our tuning regularly and all that good stuff. But today I want to talk to you about marching tenors. Some of you are gonna, like, if you're a percussion person and you already know this, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. Just swipe. You can just go watch another video or something like that. But there are some people that maybe you have a gap of knowledge pertaining to percussion, and that's where I can help, right? So we're gonna help each other out. Somebody help me with this, and I'm gonna help you with this. And so I'll tell you what. Some of you may not believe what I'm about to show you, but I'm going to show you what I've seen when I go to football games and we travel and we're playing XYZ school that's out in the middle of nowhere, where there's no college nearby that you can get a percussion tech to come out. There's no, resources maybe that you can get, people to come out or whatever. And so I understand that. And so I'm not talking down to you. Please don't misunderstand me. But I have seen this and I want to help you correct it, okay? The number one thing I want you to understand is that we have to tune our tenors. No lie, this is what I've seen sometimes. Okay? Those tenors are on the verge of crossing down into the bass drum range of the frequencies, okay? That is not a good thing. Right? That has got a lot of resonance, and it's probably down there with one of the bass drums or whatever. So it's not the intended frequency for these tenors. They're actually supposed to be the tenor voice of the battery. You have the snare drum, the soprano, the middle voice tenors, and then the basses obviously are the low frequency. And this is really pushing up against that low frequency. Not only that, if you're a director that's constantly getting feedback from judges where they're saying, hey, your drums are too loud, it may be the judges not knowing necessarily the pitch issue. Maybe you have a judge that is hearing that sustain, and that is what they're hearing. And really, that should not be going on, because you should have a much higher pitch on this drum, on all of them, right? And so they may not know how to express that. You keep getting all these judges critiquing you about your volume. It may not be a volume issue, it may be just a pitch issue. So I'm going to tune these up really quick, and then I'm going to go ahead and play them for you. I'm not going to tune them to any particular pitch. It's just I'm going to get them a little higher, and it really, a lot of that depends on the size of drums. This is kind of a smaller configuration. We have an 8, 10, 12, and 13-inch drums. Some people have the 10, 12, 13, 14, or whatever. So it's going to be a little bit hard to try to tune a bigger set of drums to what I tune these to, and they're smaller, right? So the main thing is that if you're a director, don't be afraid to turn some luck. As long as you go across, so you're evenly distributing the tension. The drum will tell you when it's had too much, okay? And I think sometimes we're afraid of popping a head or whatever, and you're going to hear glue popping, especially if you have some of these heads that have like they're double coated or whatever. You're going to hear glue popping, and I think that's when we start getting scared and we want to stop. And that's not a bad thing. That's just a natural thing of the head responding to more tension. And so just be mindful of that. Let me go ahead and tune those up really quick for you. All right, we got our drums tuned up a little bit. I brought them up quite a bit, but still I think they could be a little higher. It's really the preference of what you want. But even this right here will work. What I have, if that's something that you hear on the field, if I'm a judge, I'm not really gonna critique that. It's fine. So let me show you what that sounds like. And you could actually bring like some of the drums closer to each other. Like that 2 to 3 is a little bit wide for my taste, but I just did it really quick to show you the difference in the really low sound to this, where it's actually within the ballpark of being an actual tenor range or whatever. So anyway, that's the first thing I wanted to show you. Just get the key. Don't be afraid to turn some lugs, and make sure that you're going across all that good stuff. You probably remember that from your methods classes, but it's the amount of tension that we're not really sure about, right? So when you hear the glue popping, don't be afraid. Keep going until you get to that tenor range. Okay, it should be higher than your bass drum. That's a good way to kind of start, right? The second thing I want to talk to you about is your playing ranges. I want you to try to notice, and it might not really translate well on a video, but these tenors, when you look at the head, you're looking at the batter head and also the resonant head. If I have a tom or a snare drum or something like that, I hit the top, but the bottom resonates. And so that makes this a little bit different to play. You've got to make sure that you teach your kids not to play in the middle. This is the sound that we have when we play in the middle. Okay, very dead sound. It does have a little bit of tone, but very little. Okay, if I play off center, maybe about 3 inches from the edge, that's the sound we want. That's a much more legato sound, more than this. So what I hear sometimes is kids, they're rocking out, they're playing, they're doing whatever cadence, and we just hear that dead sound all throughout, because when we play other instruments, we're taught maybe to play in the middle of the drum, or play in the middle of the bar, on the xylophone, marimba, whatever. And that's not the case for tenors. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind. Have them play off center. And so there's a good way to kind of teach your kids to think of their hands as windshield wipers. Okay. And you want to try to teach them to do that. So that'll kind of get you into the frame of mind of where your playing zones are. A lot of times I have my kids set up on drum 2 as home base, whatever. But if I come to drum 1, I'm going to play here. If I come to drum 3, I'm going to play here. The logo is actually where you want to aim for, okay? And so it's almost like a straight line going across the whole thing. And that's where your windshield wiper, can reach over to. And really, when I get to this drum, I'm really playing more there with my right hand. Or if I get to this drum over here with my left hand, if I'm doing something, maybe some 16th notes, my left hand will actually be more in this area right here, and my right hand can be there. So anyway, that's how you get a good consistent sound out of your tenors once you tune them and you get them where you want, and once you're playing with the right zones. The last thing I want to share with you is this, okay? You notice how this particular stick has a little bit wider of a tip, okay? Especially with these drums that are the smaller ones, if you're basically aiming, for the right spot, you have a very, very small window to be able to get the right tone, okay? If you get too close to the edge, you get that pangy sound. If you get too close to the middle, you get the dead sound. So you can help them out a little bit by getting them sticks that have a wider tip. Those are more tenor sticks. And there's even these old school ones that I found, and you definitely want to tape them up, whatever. But it's basically like a little disc, and it just helps them reach over without having to have a weird angle. If I had a regular drumstick and I was playing like this, I'd be hitting the rim a lot. But the disc part of it helps me reach over the rim and not hit the rim as much, okay? So I can get to the spot here where I need to be without really having to do some weird angle, like if I had just a pair of SD1 Generals or something like that. So that's going to help your kids. And again, there are a lot of different sticks. You can just contact your music store and have them bring out several, types of tenor sticks, and you can pick one and make sure you tape them up really good so that when they do hit the rim, because it'll happen, it's gonna protect the stick a little bit. All right. Hope this has been helpful for y'all, and I hope that y'all are able to pass this along. And again, let's be nice to each other if we have any gaps of knowledge. All right, so that we can be able to put our kids in the best position for success.